Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Insurance Town. I'm the Mayor Heath Sheeran and the host of this podcast. Pumped you here hanging out because I've got my friend Draye Redfern of Redfern Media, a marketing consulting agency that helps business owners do some pretty big things. He works with people that have been on the Shark Tank. He's been featured on Forbes, Inc. magazine, Huffington Post, Psychology Today, and so many others. This dude is awesome, and he's a marketing genius, and I love talking to him. And I wanted you to be able to eavesdrop on one of our conversations today. Before I do, I got to put a shout out to my friends over at Smart Choice, the fastest growing agency network, hands down. And they are so much fun to work with. 10,000 agencies across the country work with them, and $11 billion in written premium. That's a lot of premium written. So carriers trust them, agencies trust them. You should trust them. SmartChoiceAgents.com. Also, my good friends over at Canopy Connect. They do so many cool things for you and your agency. I don't know why you're not working with them yet. Go to usecanopy.com/Heath. Get a discount, get your demo. Let them know that I sent you. They are such a great partner for me to have on my squad and on your team as well. They can help you with intake forms. They can help you with collecting data like loss runs, like vehicle lists, like driver lists, like anything and everything that you would find on a deck page can be found and collected for you in your dashboard just by sending your clients a link that is dedicated to your agency. And it's amazing. So make sure you go to usecanopy.com/Heath and check that out. I'm going to get out of the way now so you can check out this amazing conversation with my good friend, Draye Redfern. Draye Redfern, what's up, brother?
Hey, man, excited to be here and be hanging out today.
Yeah, dude, this is going to be fun, man. I'm excited. So, audience, I've got the real Dr. Draye chilling with me today. Like, this is the man. Just spelled better, right?
Just spelled better. D-R-A-Y-E and not D-R-E.
That's right.
Anyone can spell it D-R-E.
The D-R-E, baby. Love it. So talk to me, man. How you been, man? Life been good?
Life is good, man. We're doing a lot of cool things for a lot of cool people, doing a lot of good results and things. So I'm excited to be alive, man. Living the dream, helping a lot of people achieve their dreams as well. So it's no complaints.
Is that not the coolest thing ever? I mean, I pinch myself every day that I get to do what I love. And I say on my LinkedIn all the time, like, if you do what you love, you never have to work another day in your life. And like, I'm a living embodiment of that, I feel like. And it sounds like you are too, man. That's so awesome.
Very much so. Yeah, I feel extremely blessed, I would say.
Yeah, dude, for sure. So where you coming at me from? Like, where are you out of?
So I am based in Dallas.
Yeah, dude.
But I have a place in Austin and a place in Colorado, so I kind of bounce between the three. But home base is Dallas. At the time, I lived in Austin. My wife lived in Dallas, but at the time, she had more employees than I did, so she won.
She won.
She won, and now I have way more employees than she does, and now I have us stuck here to a certain degree. So it is what it is. That's
awesome. So what's your wife do, man?
Now she just stays at home and hangs out with our three kids.
Dude, that's a full-time job in itself. I got 3 kids myself, man.
It is 100% a full-time job. It does not get the amount of respect that it deserves, but my wife is she's the queen.
There you go. I love it. My wife's the same way, man. The queen. Okay, so for those that are just listening to this on like Apple or Spotify, whatever, you got to go to YouTube and check out this dude's hair. My God, you got great hair, bro. I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
That takes a minute. You got to put some product in that, and you got to take a few minutes in the mornings to do that, right?
I woke up like this.
Shut up! Come on, come on. Come on. All right. No.
It takes a minute or two, but it's pretty easy. I'm training for an Ironman right now, and so I got a 2 mile and change swim in this morning. So it's one of these things that, just threw it together.
That's awesome, man. I one of my best friends does the Ironman and the triathlons and all that, and she was was it Paris? Not Paris, France, somewhere out there where they did the Worlds, and she was out there doing that, and like she's all about it, man. So shout out to Sidro. But
In
Yeah.
a former life, I was a professional cyclist or semi-professional. I got paid to
Yeah.
do it. I raced all over the U.S. and all over Europe. And our joke was, why would you be mediocre at 3 sports when you could be good at one? And yet here I am 15 years later being mediocre at 3 sports.
That's hilarious. Yeah. I was in a nasty car accident. My audience knows I've talked about it sometimes, but I can't run anymore. I've had knee surgeries and I've got pins and rods everywhere. But I always say, man, I could do the swim and I could do the bike, because it doesn't hurt my knees as bad. So I want to do one of those where like you could team up and have someone do one section and someone do another and something on another. So I would love to do like the swim and have someone else do the run and the bike. It'd be so much fun. But anywho, enough about that. We're on the Insurance Town podcast, so not the cyclist or the triathlon podcast. But talk to me a little bit. Like, you have an insurance background, like a deep insurance background, and you're not in that space anymore, but you come from that lens. So I'd love to hear if you could like take a walk down memory lane with me in the audience and just give me high level of your background and what led you to Redfern and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I cut my teeth in insurance. So my dad bought an insurance agency when I was young kid, and I started working in that business when I was 12, and began to take over more and more things. And all summers in high school and all of that, all summers in college, and even part-time work in college. Till eventually, it was one of these things where I had done so much. And my ideas were actually working better than anyone else who's been there for 10, 20, even 30 years. I took over the entire marketing department, 50 something employees, give or take. And we just started to grow more, and started to grow even faster. And it's amazing when you have good marketing, how easy the rest of the business can become. Like, we all have challenges. There's landmines everywhere, et cetera. But good marketing is, really, really impactful. And so then I just proceeded to do that for, another probably 8 to 10 years. And we built it to be doing about just under 40 million a year in sales. And we were successful because, the old saying is the riches are in the niches.
Oh yeah.
And so it started out a bit more broad, and we began to refine as time goes on. And so our niche was, we served 1 to 3 attorney law firms in the in the legal space, obviously, and we did their errors and omissions, or like their malpractice insurance, depending on your terminology. And that was the bread and butter. And we had 500 title agents, 1,000 CPAs, 500 real estate agents or so, other professionals. But the legal side was the bread and butter. And a lot of other people playing in the same space were going after big law because I could make a $300,000 commission this year, and then next year they're gone. And so for us, it was like, let's be really good at the small stuff, make it a volume play. So if we lose one, we'll never feel it.
Right.
But we build over time, and you build the relationships, and the small ones tend to stay a lot better. And so we did that. We built it, substantially. And then 3 years ago this month, we exited that to one of the Berkshire Hathaway companies for an all-cash deal. And so it's pretty cool to say you sold a company to Warren. And then overlapping all of that, about 10 years ago or so obviously like a 5-ish year overlap or so, I started a marketing agency, Redfern Media, and where I basically was taking ideas and things that I was like, I got to play with on the insurance side and get to test it in other environments. And if it held up, I would do more of it. If it didn't, I'd refine, take what worked best, help those clients out, and spin it back to the insurance side. So it's like mutually beneficial. I learned really, really fast doing that. And then since then, we've had, big name clienteles, like household business names, like, Sharks from Shark Tank, Chris Voss, the FBI hostage negotiator, Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who wrote the book 10X is Easier Than 2X and Who Not How. He's one of my dearest friends now. We've done all of his launches for the last 8 years.
Wow.
And so when we first started working together, he made $70,000 a year. The year before, our first year of working together, he made $1.2 million. And
That's
then
incredible.
The rest is history 8 years, plus later. So we've helped a lot of people do a lot of cool things, from, publicly traded companies all the way down to like the mom and pop on Main Street, and a lot of stuff in between. So I also have a marketing consultancy, fractionalcmo.com. So I've got my hands in kind of a lot of different cookie jars, but mostly in the marketing swimming pool. But I just sort of play in 2 different ends of the marketing swimming pool, if you will.
Dude, I think that's awesome. And that's, you say so many things I want to unpack, but when you get into the marketing piece of it, and again, my background is, 20 plus years in the insurance space, and I'm still in that insurance space, and I'm still doing a lot in that space, but my focus has turned more into content marketing, more into, marketing in general. And I work with, a lot of agencies and carriers, and I work with a lot of people. And then, obviously, the listeners here know I work with Vertifor, which is the largest, insure tech company in the U.S. is what I like to say. And we do a lot of cool stuff in that tech space, and I've gotten to speak at a lot of conferences, do a lot of cool stuff in that. And again, like I said earlier, I get to pinch myself on a regular because I get to do what I love. But the marketing piece, like you said, it drives so much in an agency, and I would love to know, like, again, I don't know the exact timeline, but I do know, especially over the last 10, 15 years, and going back to, you said you were 12, 13 years old, so I don't know your age now, but there had been a lot of changes in marketing, especially with the introduction of social media, with the introduction of more video involved, and, the exit and then the re-entry of direct mail and all the different things. Like, how did you keep your finger on the pulse on some of that? And where did you start, especially in the insurance space with marketing? How did you start? And then, like, how has that evolved? It's a big, large question, but
I got the perfect answer for this. This is going to probably change a lot of people's paradigms.
and if it sucks, I'll edit it out and we'll start again. Just kidding.
No, I think like this is actually, it's a good question, good questions or line of questions. And I think we'll change some paradigms around it. So, there's been a lot that's changed in the last 25 years, 30 years.
100%.
And in that space, first of all, you have to really know who you're going after. And attorneys tend to be, again, not all, but they tend to be preferential, or they prefer physical paper. They're reading physical paper all day. And then, they'll scroll on their computer to read a doc here or there.
Yeah.
We found way, way more success with direct mail. So we would send somewhere between 1.2 and 1.4 million pieces of direct mail a year, and it crushed all the time because people's email inboxes are full and their mailboxes are empty. Mm-hmm. And even in the last year, since February of last year, Google and Yahoo have really cracked down on email deliverability with your DMARC, DKIM, SPF records, and your mail exchange sort of stuff. Technical, I know. Basically, but like making it more difficult for people to cold email or get in touch with people that way. Direct mail crushes. And so typically for a lot of times this is like a great anecdote for a lot of people. We would do things, we still do it this exact way for our clients to promote our own stuff, a 3-part series. First one is usually the least expensive, where we're sending them a handwritten number 10 envelope with no physical printing and everything. It's handwritten. And at the time, in the insurance agency, we bought one of the handwriting printers where it's like, quote unquote, it's not a printer. You can insert your Mont Blanc or your Uniball or whatever into it, and it would physically write the note for you. So you see the ink bleeds. It's handwritten, just written by a robot hand.
Right.
And so we would do that, thousands and thousands of those. But then it got to be so big and so loud. It's like, let's just freaking outsource this thing. So there's a lot of companies now you could do this to. I mean, you just Google it. There's a ton of them. And so like a handwritten note up front, number 10 envelope. Second one, we would usually use a company called Handwritten, written with a Y, HANDWRYTTEN, and send them like a cardstock, piece of thing where it's inside an envelope with an actual stamp. And then on the one side of the cardstock is like our offer or a QR code. On the back side of it is the handwritten, like, hey, Heath, I wanted to send this to you because I know that you're, doing trust work in Little Rock and thought that this particular, thing would be interesting to you. And you could QR code it and be like, cool. And then I could obviously gate it with your name and email or not, whatever else, and do it that way. And then the third, we'd often do something like a bit more expensive. We do lumpy mail. So oftentimes in that space, we'd buy by the bulk or hundreds at a time, these big squishy ball gavels, because it has to do with the legal space. I can mail it to you, but it's lumpy. And when you get that lumpy mail, that's going to be the first thing you're going to open, because what the hell is inside of this thing?
Yeah, 100%.
And a squishy ball is a cool little thing, but it hardly weighs anything. So you pay less than postage on
Dude.
that side of things.
Yeah, that's
So
smart.
so you could do that if like you're doing a sports thing. You send a soccer ball or a football or something like that. Are you doing,
Sure.
like you could do that in a bunch of different sort of capacities. Go to Alibaba, order 500 of them, and you call it good. And then you could also do like video boxes on the third. But you could do all sorts of different things. But that was like a huge linchpin in how we really grew it, was doing something different than what everyone else was doing in an environment that very few people were playing in, red ocean versus blue ocean sort of concept. And then not just sending it once, sending something 3 times plus. Because most people that I have conversations with on the marketing side is, man, I had a $25,000 budget and I spent it all on this postcard and I didn't get a single lead back. I'm like, well, where did the list come from? I bought the list. How many times did you mail them? I mailed them only once. Like, well, that's why. You bought a list. You didn't clean it. There's no hygiene on that list. You don't know if the contacts are any good. You sent them a postcard. That thing was dog crap as far as the offer, the copy, the content, the structure of it, the design of it. And so you basically set 25 grand on fire. Like what do you like? So
Yeah.
but that's how most people do it. And so breaking it down multiple steps with a bit more finesse in it, I think people tend to have a lot more success on the direct mail side of things.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I want to hear some more after that. But like, I will say, one of the sponsors of my show is a company called Old School Marketing, and what they do is what you're talking about, the handwritten postcards and the things, and they actually have people in their office in actually Northwest Arkansas that actually handwriting themselves. Like you can see videos on their website of like people actually handwriting. And he's got the software to do it in bulk, to do like you're talking about, but like he uploads the font of like his client's handwriting. I can't speak, but yeah. So shout out to Old School Marketing and Rusty Dykes over there. But what you're talking about, when I first heard him, when he and I started talking, I was like, direct mail, what in the world? Because for a while it exited, and then now you're seeing a big resurgence because people trust snail mail more than they do anything else right now, I feel like.
And a lot of people are having more success because ad costs keep going up. I'm advertising on Google or Facebook or whatever the thing is, and it's getting more expensive, and a lot of the clicks are trash. They're fake clicks or bot clicks or whatever else. You got to have secondary click blocking software installed. Like, it's becoming way more complex. Whereas direct mail, I can build a piece, hand it off to my mailing company, throw a stamp or indicia on it, and then press send. And a week later, wow, leads start coming in. It's less complex for most business owners, I would say.
Yeah, and so again, you talk about that. So you started doing that, and then I'm assuming you've continued to do some of that, but you've had to sprinkle in some other things throughout your time in the insurance space. Especially, I'm a big niche guy too. I speak on stages about niches a lot, and I had a niche when I had my agency and whatnot. So, what are some of the other things that you saw that it was working for you in that either the legal space or any kind of space like that you've worked with other clients with? Like, what are some of those other things that you saw early success and even now?
So on the fractional CMO side of things, we do these audits now.
Okay.
We call them Apex audits, and we follow a framework that we developed called ANKR. And ANKR stands for attract, nurture, convert, humanize, optimize, and then retention and recurring revenue. And so attract, how do you bring leads in? Obviously, then you have to nurture them. You have to have usually more than one conversion mechanism. But people don't want to buy from robots. They want to buy from humans. We're not in a B2B culture anymore or B2C. It's an H to H culture, human to human. Then most people don't know their numbers. So how do you even optimize that? And then retention and recurring revenue, because it's not sexy to say, well, I have 95% retention, but it's way sexy to say, dude, I got 400 new sales this month. So
Right.
but business in general is all bass backwards, because it's 5 times to 25 times more expensive to go get a new customer than it is to simply retain an existing one, but it's never talked about. And so that's the flow that we have. So when it comes to helping people with their marketing and telling them what to fix, that's normally the flow that we say, go through that and evaluate yourself. We've got an online tool that can do that for people.
Sure.
But ultimately, it's one of those things where most businesses are lacking in pretty badly at least 2 of them.
Okay.
So I may get leads in. I can probably close them at a decent percentage, but that nurture gap in the middle is awful because I'm just blessed with leads. Well, when Zuckerberg hikes the price of ads up or whatever else, or you have your ad account shut down, you're shit up creek without a paddle because it's not working anymore. And then now you fast forward 30, 60, 90 days and cash is getting tight. A lot of other people completely overlook the humanized side of things. Like, I don't want you to ever feel like a number. I want you to feel like you are the only customer that I have. You know
Yeah.
that's not true. I certainly know that's not true, but I want you to feel that way. So in our
100%.
CRMs and our client CRMs, we like, hey, Bill said this. His anniversary is that. His daughter's birthday is August 12th, and she really likes horses. And so the best thing you could ever do is send a horse-related something to Bill's daughter on her birthday, because you buy something for the kids, you impact both parents. You impact both parents. The word of mouth referrals from that goes so much further than just buying something for a bottle of bourbon for Bill himself or whatever else.
100%.
So there's these ancillary things. If you just listen, like actively listen, and then take notes of it, put it in a CRM to follow up or task that thing out. You spend $50 on, I don't know, some horse related thing or what. I don't know anything about horses. That's a bad example, but some sort of something. And
Sure.
then boom, Bill's a client for life. His wife is like, we're never leaving our insurance agent because they do things that no one else does. When someone else is complaining about their insurance agent, they're like, forget them. This is the only person you need to talk to. Here's why. Little Susie's birthday, they went and did this for her. I don't even know how they had her birthday. Well, Bill shared it on a phone call and you freaking took notes.
Yep.
Like, it's things like that. That ain't sexy. But that's the stuff that really moves needles. And like, we could track word of mouth referrals from that, like ripple on ripple on ripple for a lot of our clients.
100%. And I think, again, I'm a big relationship guy and I always have been. And so what you're talking about is just like a song to me. Like, I love hearing these things because so many people get lost in that and they forget the relationship side of it and they forget that part of it. It's like, let's introduce AI here. Let's introduce this. Let's do more technology, more this, more that. And it's like they forget that the technology, the AI, all those things are great, but they're there to set up the relationship and to build the relationship, not, make you a robot. And so I love that. I've got a buddy of mine that wears those Meta glasses, and like, he'll be talking to people and he'll, can I record real quick? And he'll record if he's having a conversation at a conference or at a restaurant or even at a grocery store. And then the AI could translate that back, send him an email and say, hey, you and Draye had a conversation looking at bananas at the grocery store. And he told you, blah, 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 blah. Like, he just got back from his daughter's soccer game. His son's birthday's in 2 weeks. All the things you're talking about. He gets that email and he can go back and say, hey, man, I really enjoyed our conversation. I hope Susie won her soccer game, whatever. Little Timmy did good in football practice. And like you said, all of those things matter and people care. And it's like, oh, man. And like, obviously in that situation, that person would know, oh, yeah, he had those Meta glasses, he recorded it, whatever. But still, you took the time to translate all of that, put in an email, put all those things together. I'm a huge proponent of that. Even before Meta glasses, AI, all of that. That was the thing I used to do as an insurance agent. I did a lot of drop-ins and cold calls. And that's some of the things that my dad taught me. Again, I'm second generation as well. My dad would teach me, hey, don't talk insurance when you go see people. Get to know them. And when you walk in, and again, it's old school. This was, late 90s, early 2000s when I got into it. But it was like, scan the room as fast as you can. If you see a Razorback flag in the background, or if you see a picture of a couple of kids, you might, hey, see, you got 3 kids. Tell me your kids' names. Like, how old are they? What are they doing? Oh, that's an old picture from 3 years ago. Now they're teenagers, whatever. And you start those conversations, like, before it's said and done, I don't know how many times people will be like, so what'd you come in here for? Like, we were talking about kids for 30 minutes. And I was like, oh, I have a little agency down the road. I'd love to talk to you someday about it. But I just really want to come in and say hi. And then they're like, oh, okay. So then when you call, they're like, oh, yeah, you were the nice guy that talked to me about my kids for 30 minutes and forgot what you even came in for. And that was all purpose, but they thought I was just a nice guy. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I'm rambling here, but this shit gets me excited. Sorry, man.
It makes a huge difference. The only other thing that, there's a saying, small hinges swing big doors. Mm-hmm. That makes a big difference. The other thing is, and it's nothing new, it dates back 100 years basically at this point, from the book How to Win Friends and Influence People from Dale Carnegie. The sweetest sound to someone's ears is the sound of their own name. So I try to use it all the time. And so like when we onboard a lot of clients, and this is like another little hack that people can use very easily to like rapidly create humanized moments, is every time we onboard a new client, we build a web page for them. So it'd be like fractionalcmo.com/ their first name dash their last name.
Oh, dude, I like that.
And then
I like that.
on that page, it becomes a video of like, hey, Susan, Draye Redfern here, or my director of operations will do it. Excited that you're going to be moving forward with this, or that. This is what we talked about. This is next steps, whatever else. And then everything below you need to get started is on the page. And so the URL has their name on it. The top of the page is, hi, Heath, welcome. Listen to this message from Draye. And then as soon as I play the video, it's like, hey, Heath, Draye Redfern here. So I'm using the name 3 times in above the fold of a website. Now, you don't have to do the video every time. Like for us, our LTV, our lifetime value of our clients, makes sense that we do that.
Sure.
But if someone's selling it, it's a low-end premium, a BOP, a bond, work comp, something like that, maybe you just have the static video. It's like, hey, Draye Redfern here, excited to be doing this, and this with you. But making that page is a 30-second process. You go to your ClickFunnels or Go High Level or whatever your marketing software is. You build the thing once. Once it's done, you hit clone. You change the URL slug from Draye or Bill to Heath, and you change the name at the top from Bill to Heath, and you're done. And that's it. So you can have these deep humanized moments in as little as 30 seconds. And when someone gets an email from you and it says, hey, this is the link that you need to get started, your URL.com / their first name / last name, people are like, what the hell? Do these people build a web page for me? What's going on here? What's the scenario? And they click the dang thing because that's my name.
Yeah.
So the sweetest sound of someone's ears is the sound of their own name. So we try to use it and integrate things like that. So the humanized component is often overlooked. And I guess to close the loop on that whole line of questioning, the optimized side of things is usually the area where most businesses are just completely lost. They don't know what's working. They don't know what's not. So they tend to throw good money after bad. They don't have analytics or tracking tools. There's no dashboards. They don't know what time their, initial lead to close cycle, how many days that is. They don't know what their LTV is, their lifetime value. Because maybe if you look at it, someone today, you're like, well, I only make $1,000 off of them year one. And it costs me doing this marketing strategy $800 to $1,000 to get them in. And like, great, but what's your retention on the back end? Because I will play that all day long. If I have a 95 to 100% retention on that, that means if I get them in, I'm golden. Year one may be a little tight,
right? But year 2 through 10,
you're screaming like you're doing so good. You're flying. Oh yeah. But most people don't know those numbers. And so, like for us, we typically say, like, what are the 5 primary KPIs that you need to know? Like, I'll give you an example. For us, I want to know total impressions of like people who have hit our web pages or funnels. It's a leading indicator. It doesn't mean I get leads. Doesn't mean any of this sort of stuff. I just want to know what that number is because it creates a baseline. I want to know how many leads we're getting per month of just people expressing interest, whatever else. I want to know how many sales calls are booked. I want to know how many people show up. And I want to know cash collected and the close rate as a result of those sales calls. If I just know those 5 or 6 stats, then I could tell you 3 months ahead of time if we're going to have a cash crunch. Because if leads are down this month, then I could say, okay, our sales cycle on average is 85 days. I know that in 3 months from now, I'm going to have issues. So that means today, let's go bump the spend up or send another direct mail piece or whatever we got to do to fill that gap. So all of that evens itself out. But that level of confidence takes some time, and you got to know those freaking numbers. Once you know them, and again, it'll be different for every business. You have leading indicators and lagging indicators. Once you know those leading indicators, you know where your business is going to be. You can predict with way more authority, and business just tends to become a lot more fun then.
Yeah, it does, 100%. And, you talk about all of these things, and a lot of people – they're listening to this or taking those notes, or they pulled over, or they've stopped the treadmill to write down some of these things because it's like not everybody knows leading and lagging and the reports and things you're talking about. So go to ChatGPT, go to Google, go whatever, look all that kind of stuff up, and then try to implement that. I get that. But you talk about these 7-8 figure businesses that you're working with now, with broken marketing, as I've heard you say before, in other content pieces, all these things you've already talked about probably fit into that broken marketing thing. But is there anything else in particular that you want to talk about in the next few minutes of like, what are some of those other things that are broken in their marketing right now? Because a lot of people out there are like, man, I'm doing pretty good. Like, I'm putting out content every day. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but they're not seeing the results that they want. Because it's one thing to post content every day or send out an email or to do this and check all the boxes. But if it's not the right things for their business, then it's broken, as you would say. So
the right things is a metric that you need to know. Like, give it an amount of time, because most people tend to go from shiny object to shiny object to shiny object to shiny object. And then they say, a year or two later, I spent $50, $100, $500,000. Marketing doesn't work. They're all charlatans. Everyone's a liar and whatever. So you're so ADD, you can't stay with anything long enough to actually see it through to success. Because the reality is social and post works. The reality is doing content and long form stuff on YouTube works. The reality is direct mail works. They all work, and they can all work for everyone. But if you're not keeping track of the numbers and you're not actually staying with it long enough to see success, you're basically just setting more of that cash on fire. So actually sticking with something is more important than just going from shiny object to shiny object, because we do have all these marketing gurus and people saying you're just one funnel away or whatever the thing is from just getting out there. And it's such BS. Like, do one thing that you're good at marketing wise that you really enjoy and stick with it long enough. Like podcasts, you want to start a podcast? Cool. Don't start a podcast though if you cannot commit to at least doing 1 year. Otherwise, it's worthless. You're not going to get any traction. If you're going to do social, stick with it for at least 6 months, being super, super consistent before you then be like, maybe this is not worth, the juice is not worth the squeeze. Most people do it for 45 days and you're like, F it. This is it's all, for naught. So that's one thing there. The other thing is, I'm a huge proponent of singular actions. Basically like investing in a stock with a dividend. What stocks, more or less, can I invest in my business that'll keep reaping rewards for me, much like a dividend would? And so that we call those singular actions. So I'll give you an example of one. Most businesses are really bad on the nurture side. And so, thank you for being a lead, buy my stuff. Oh, you're not going to buy my stuff? Peace. I never want to talk to you again. Or maybe I'll give you my monthly newsletter or something like that. That is 95% of businesses. The simplest thing you can do is take your FAQs or take your most asked questions or take the objections that you get the most on a sales call and then work those into an answer and then turn that into a 52-week long email sequence where you're answering all of their biggest concerns, all of their biggest objections with actual, not just overcoming the objection, why this is important or the line of thinking is important or how they should be handling that, et cetera. So you round it out. You write 52 weeks worth of emails. You can plug it into Claude because Claude is way better typically for writing than ChatGPT. You plug it into Claude. You write your 52 emails. You set it in your Keep account or Go High, MailChimp or whatever your email autoresponder is. You set it and forget it. The only other thing you do is at the end of 52 weeks, you set a tag to begin back at the beginning and start the whole sequence over again. Because do you remember an email you got a year ago?
No.
Nope. Nobody does. So you get to basically nurture those people in perpetuity from a singular action. Just one thing.
Love that. That's great advice. And I love that you're giving all this free stuff away because I know you do this for a living. And so, you have to let me know if you have a hard stop here in a few minutes because I have a few more things I want to get into. If you have a hard stop, you good?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
We can keep rolling.
Awesome. So I do want to. I got a couple things before we hit the stop button, but no, I love the singular action. I love what you're talking about doing here, and I love that you found a way to pivot. From selling your agency, as you mentioned, to Berkshire Hathaway, and then getting into working with these large businesses and like you said, the Shark Tank. I'm a huge Shark Tank fan, so that's pretty awesome. I love. I think it's like MSNBC all the time or CS, whatever it is. It's always on, and so anytime I want to watch it, I can find it. There's always it's that's one of the most fascinating things for me to watch, to see them talk about all their numbers and these people presenting. And to me, I feel like I've learned a lot just from watching that show. It's like one of the most, educational reality shows I've ever seen. And I don't know if those numbers are real or not, but just thinking through some of that stuff. And again, I'm rambling on all this to say there's a huge thing that you've already talked about a little bit about knowing your numbers and knowing what's working, what's not, who's in the funnel, who's not, where they came in, where they exited, where they liked, where they didn't like, all of those things. And I know you've already touched on it, but I want the audience listening right now, because I'm a huge proponent of all of this, of telling, I want you to hear from you, not me, of why that's so important, why it's so overlooked. It's not a lazy thing. I think it's more of an uneducated thing. But you tell me what you think, and kind of, I'm terrible at asking questions, but I'm great at conversation. So there's not really a question there other than just talk to me a little bit about numbers.
Well, so there's two things. And I think on the Shark Tank thing, you only see like 5 minutes of it or 10 minutes of it. I don't know why it's doing that with the balloons.
I love that, though. Congratulations. Way to go.
You only see like 5 or 10 minutes of it on TV. That pitch goes like an hour and a half to 3 hours.
Yeah.
And there's a whole due diligence thing that goes on behind the scenes. It's not televised. Like there's a lot that sort of goes on. But when you know your numbers, it allows you to do so much more. You want to go out and get a loan. Well, if you've got a really solid P&L, then you can do that, whether that's for operating income or like operating, what expenses, et cetera. But also knowing your numbers and having it really shored up, and then having recurring revenue as part of it, whatever else, you get a much higher multiple on exit, typically called EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. You get an even higher multiple if the business can run without you being in it or around it, because it means that when someone buys that asset, it doesn't rely on you being the linchpin for that thing to actually keep going. And then if you take it sort of a step, further, if your business is doing like 1 to 5 million a year, and I'll just use like rough numbers because a bunch of industries, whatever else, maybe you're getting like a 2 to 3 or maybe 5x EBITDA, but 1 to call it 3 or 5 million, 5 to 10 million, that could be like a 5, 8, 10x EBITDA multiple. You get to like 20 million and it's sky. So it's like, it's asymmetric. So a lot of businesses are like, oh, I hit the $1 million mark. Great. I want to sell. Cool. But if you held on for a few more years and maybe you get that to 3 million or 5 million, it is so asymmetric, the amount of money you can make on the back end with that multiples, because it's not linear. It's like a J curve that the more money you make, the more you can make on the back end if you ever sell the business. A lot of people do not know that, which is why you hear people are like private equity. We got a couple big private equity companies that are clients of ours. They love scooping up businesses in that like $1 million space, because a lot of people don't know what they have. And if I can take $1 million and $1 million and $1 million and $1 million and $1 million business, $5 million in combined revenue, well, I paid you, let's just call it 2 million. And I paid them 2 million. So for 10 million, I'm in for everything. But I can immediately, once I've done that, take that $5 million business and flip it for 15 or 20, hardly doing anything. And I just made $5 to $10 million by basically rolling up all of these other people. And that's largely a huge component of the private equity game. And so that could easily be done in the insurance space. We did that. We made 4 or 5 acquisitions of other agencies to scoop up, roll up into us. So it made us way more valuable when the time came that we wanted to exit. But it's scary to a lot of people because it's new and I'm taking a chance. And I say to people, you took a freaking massive chance starting this business. Every day that you're running it the way that you're running it, like it could be your last day. Like the chance of buying another business, especially if you know you have skills to go improve that business, like it's a no-brainer for a lot of people.
Sure.
Because especially when you consider that there's this silver tsunami going on where 25 or 28% of the total workforce of people who own businesses are basically leaving or exiting them in the next 5 to 8 years. All the baby boomers, et cetera. I may have the stats slightly wrong, but that's roughly what it is. And so there's a lot of people out there who, when it's time to retire, they're like, well, Sonny, I'm closing the shop. And they lock the key for the last time and they walk away. Where if you start going after other insurance businesses in the space in the same niche as yours, so it bolts right on, I bet you could do seller finance deals, do a lot of these things relatively easily, where that person who's going to retire anyway, you're paying them out cash only, or over a period of time, over 3, 5, 8, 10 years, they have mailbox money coming in. You're not out a huge chunk of change up front. You have way more assets under your control. And now your business becomes way more valuable, way quicker when the day comes that you ever want to sell it. But that's a whole side of business that people don't typically ever think on.
100%. And so, someone that is deciding as they're listening to this, like, okay, I'm going to stick around a little bit. I'm going to take, Dr. Draye's advice here and say, I'm going to stick around with this for a little bit. And, maybe there's something to that, 5 or 10 years, let's see if I can double, triple, whatever, quadruple this thing, from your vantage point, what you guys specialize in, do best, the marketing piece of that, and something that I've recently in the last 5 years really started paying attention to is, piggybacking off the numbers conversation of knowing those numbers. And like, I really started paying attention, and I used to not, but now I click on like even LinkedIn posts and I want to see like who looked at it, like who watched it, what are the impressions there? And I go to YouTube and I'll look at the YouTube and be like, oh, you've grown by 36% by this many followers and this many this and this many that. And like, before I never would pay attention to that. And then I start like comparing that to last month, last year, all of the different things. And it can help me to realize so many things in my own business, but I don't want to, it's not my thing. I want to hear from you of like, what are those numbers that they should be looking at? What are important? Like when it comes to the marketing things, even email opens and click rates and all the things. I could go on and on and on, but I wanted to hear from Draye Redfern, not Heath Sheeran.
There's a bunch, and depending on how business is structured and how they market, it's all going to be, different.
Sure.
And so, yeah, if you're sending email, open rates and click rates, we've seen those go down dramatically in the last year. Like if you're still getting a 20% plus open rate, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
It used to be 30 was the baseline and 5% was click-through rate. Now, if you're getting 20% baseline on your opens and like 3% click rate, you're doing pretty good. Everything is falling off a cliff that way. On the social side of things, if you're not getting at least 1% of engagement on your stuff, it's not like there's issues. Maybe you're not making enough CTAs, like calls to action. Maybe the content's not that engaging. Like there's stats for sort of every vertical or tranche that you want to use in marketing. If you're going to direct mail, if you're getting at least a 2% response rate, you're doing pretty good. If it's less than that, work on your headline or your copy, your body stuff. Like knowing baselines for whatever it is, and you can chat GPT much of this depending on whatever the thing is, but know what baselines are and then use that and then, as the baseline and then go after it, gamify it. Like, I did this last month. I want to do this month. How can I make it better? Play the game against yourself and your own numbers and do it for a period of a handful of months. And you'll see like, crap, we were doing that 5 months ago and now we're doing this and I'm having fun doing it. And look, we got way more leads as a result of it. All of these other sorts of things. It just, gamifying life and business is just such an easy way to end up having more fun and then sticking with it. Because like I said earlier, like any of these things work, but you got to stay with it long enough to make it work.
100%. And like platforms in social media will help you with this. I'll get an email or I'll get a notification. They'll say your engagement was up this amount or down this amount, or you really sucked this last month. You need to do this or that. And here's the ways you could do it. Make a post now, whatever. And I know they're doing that to get you back on their platform, do whatever, but it's also a way for me to think about it. Like, oh, you know what? What did I do this month that got my engagement up 32% or 12% or whatever? Or what did I do that now not working anymore that's drove down the engagement? And so algorithms change. We all know that. But I just think, piggybacking on what you're saying, there's a lot of things you can do out there that'll really help you. And they put that together for you. And you can take all that data and put it into an AI somewhere and just say, hey, analyze all this, what's working, what's not. So there's ways you can use AI to help you with some of that if you don't have the time to sit there for 6 hours and analyze it all like I do when I can't sleep at night. But, there's ways you can do it. I have real bad insomnia, Draye, and so I stay up looking at this stuff way too often. But so I appreciate you talking about all of that. And the one of the last things I do want to get into as we wrap up, and then I'll give you a minute to talk about Redfern if you wanted to attract some people that way. But so I've been listening to different podcasts and futurists and things like that because I'm fascinated with that, because like I go back and think about the stuff that I was listening to 20 years ago and 10 years ago in Futurists. I'm like, man, they were pretty dead on with some of this. Well, I was listening to a guy the other day that was saying that over the last, let's say, 10 years, we have overshared as a society and social media. We've overshared our lives and we've gotten so deep into social media. And I'm not knocking social. I'm a huge social advocate. I'm not saying that. But we've done so much that there's going to be this course correction eventually over the next 5 or 10 years where you're going to see privacy and people being more, was it anonymous? Not anonymous, but anonymity, whatever the word is. People want to be more private with their lives, and we're going to course correct all of this. And so, first of all, I'd love to hear your thoughts on if you think there's some truth to that, and then what does that do for people like you, like myself, other people who have relied so much on social for marketing? Again, we've already talked about direct mail as bomb, but again, a lot of words here. I want to hear your thoughts on some of that. Again, starting with, do you think there will be a course correction in that?
I think I got a lot of thoughts on this. There's an element of the traditional, just human experiment that you love watching train wrecks, and people in general are very voyeuristic. They're just, I love seeing what other people are doing, and this person's doing that. And like, they love that we are so pre-programmed to like keep up with the Joneses and all this other sort of stuff. I don't see the innate human psychology changing in those capacities.
Okay.
But I do see it's just going to constantly evolve.
Sure.
And so I almost think that there's going to be, YouTube just this last week was like, we're no longer going to pay out for AI generated content or AI voiceovers, et cetera. There's going to be a complete dichotomy of AI generated things and real human, connection things that are created online. That is already starting. On the social side of things, I've been so bad about it. Like, I am the worst. I'm the most famous person that no one has ever heard of. I've got big clientele, publicly traded companies, A-list business people. Most people have never heard of me because the last we're working on changing this, so this may be different by the time someone actually listens to it. I haven't posted on Instagram in 7 years.
Oh wow,
7 years. 7 years last month, and so I have a YouTube channel. I've never posted a video because I haven't needed to. I know how to do other things where I could like pay $1, get $3 in enough other environments. I haven't played the content game. But here's why I'm doing it and why everyone listening to this should. If you're not a part of masterminds or high-level things, you should be in those because you can really shorten the learning curve that it takes to learn some of this. So one of my favorite, Genius Network, I've been in that for 10 years. The leader, I would say right now, of all of the AEO stuff, like there's SEO, like search engine optimization. Then there's also like agentic agent optimization or these sorts of things where you're trying to rank, but for the LLMs. Right. And so how that is I don't want to like give super top secret stuff away, but I'll give you like the periphery of what this report is. He's basically for the last 10 months has had 5 full-time people go through and doing searches across various local, state, geographic to see what pulls what based on what LLM against Google. And how it's basically working out right now is the LLMs are ranking people over businesses. So if even the CEO of a business doesn't have a personal brand, he should make one because they're ranking personal brands way, way over the actual business themselves. The typical backlink strategy with SEO does not work for LLMs. It is like practically zero. I won't go too deep down this rabbit hole, but consider adding schema into what you're doing with your website, et cetera. Schema has not been relevant in the internet world since like the 90s. It's relevant for LLMs. And a few other things like this, because I can't tell you now the last time I went to Google and did a search. I'll go to Perplexity and I'll ping it in Perplexity and get my answer that way. And so a lot of people have played this game, and I feel really bad for these SEO people that have gone down this rabbit hole, and now they're like, their business is toast. And And so if you're not trying to build your brand in the insurance space and rank high that in your local market, you're going to have a difficult time coming up. So other ways you could do that, yeah, your Google My Business profile, answer things on Reddit or local forums and things like this. LLMs are ranking those very, very highly. And then the personal brand tied to it. So I'm actually going to give more of an effort to it finally because I've seen the data behind the scenes. I know what is coming more than I could probably actually say. And it's like, all right, I just have to do it now to get where I need to be in another 3 or so years.
That's a great answer. And I appreciate where you come from on that because, again, I find it interesting. It's fascinating to know what other people think on that because I have seen that, personal brand and the things like that. And I just did a talk in Santa Monica about branding and personal branding. And, I'm a huge believer in that. I think everyone should focus on some of that. But I do feel like the oversharing of what you ate for lunch yesterday and all of those kind of things, I think that we're going to see a course correction on some of that, though. And so,
yeah, you have to add real value, like you eating at like your lunch and how pretty that salad looked. Ain't nobody care
unless you're tagging that restaurant and throwing back some, marketing, some real value to shout out that restaurant. Maybe that would be part of the thing. But just to say, look what I did, or whatever. I just anyway. I would love, for the audience, whatever CTA you want to leave at this point. If you want to talk about Redfern Media, or if you want, obviously, I brought you on here because I wanted to visit with you and just talk marketing, geek out a little bit on some of that kind of stuff for me personally, and hopefully my audience enjoyed that. But I want to give something to you on that to be able to drive some traffic your way. So let's be real transparent, be honest on that part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a bunch of ways that I could help people for very inexpensive. Like you want to go talk more about numbers, or you want tactical stuff. I wrote a book 2 years ago called The Recession Survival Guide. It's on Audible. It's on Amazon. You could download it there. It's really solid for a lot of people. We go deeper into the Anchor framework. We're having a book coming out in another 2 months or so, anchorbook.com, where it dives more into that Anchor framework. Or on the fractional CMO side of things, we've got a diagnostics. If you really want to find out where the gaps are in your business and then have actual immediate feedback on how to fill them, fix them, whether it's strategical or tactical, we have a marketing diagnostic at fractionalcmo.com. We fluctuate the pricing depending, just because we test everything all the time. So the price may range from $7 to $197 because we are always testing various things.
Yeah.
But for a couple shekels, you can know exactly where the issues are in your business, marketing wise, and it will immediately give you the feedback on what to do tactically in less than 10 minutes of your time. So that's a usually quick thing that a lot of people do. I'd make it free, but with most things, when people pay, they pay attention. And so I care less about the $7 or the $97. I want people to actually take it and fix the stuff in their business and actually execute. And we see a lot more success if we just charge a small amount of money to actually just go then do the thing.
100%. And so I will, in the show notes, I will put a web address or some way for you to, find out what's going on with Draye and Redfern Media. Again, as a guy who says he's not the best at social media, is there a LinkedIn page that could find you personally on? Or is there a way to connect with you personally if they wanted to ask you questions to build your FAQs?
I'm on all the socials at Draye Redfern, Draye, red like the color, fern like the plant. And by the time this comes out, maybe it'll start be a lot more active on them. We've got a whole backlog of content. So once I hit it, I'm going to hit it hard. But it's a matter of I'm going to get around to it sort of thing. So yeah, you message me on those. There's a very good likelihood that I will message you back. As long as it's not spam and you want to sell me your widget or tchotchke right out the gate, because
100%,
that'll go straight to the trash.
Gotcha. Well, brother, thank you so much again for hanging out. I've taken way too much of your time, but again, I forget sometimes I'm recording and I'm just like, oh, it's just me and Draye hanging out and talking, but I forget I've got, thousands of listeners that are, eavesdropping in. So thanks for sharing some of this. Thanks for being transparent with us on it and giving away some of the secrets, but also leaving enough to be desired to reach out to you. So I'm so thankful, and shout out to Devin who connected us. And I appreciate that. But guys, make sure you go check out Redfern Media, and let's make your business better. Let's help you to grow. We all want to grow together in this. And brother, you've made a friend for life in me, and probably a client too. So I appreciate you, man. Have a great day, man.
My pleasure. Enjoyed it, and we'll talk more soon.
Yes, sir.